Morning, Evie. Um,
Hi.
Evie is going to be our facilitator this morning. I'm Christina. I'm going to be the presenter.
As I said, I'm your facilitator, Evie Hudak. I'm the public policy director of Colorado PTA. I don't know how many conventions I've been to at this point. Uh, 25 maybe or something, a lot. Um, and I've had lots of different positions on the state PTA board and I'm in local PTAs. Even though my daughter has long since graduated, I'm still a member of some of my local PTAs just to know what's going on locally. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Christina Burnham, and I'll let her just introduce herself, and then shortly thereafter, we will have her presentation.
Beautiful. Thank you, Evie. I appreciate you being the facilitator today. Um, and thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. I myself am from Grand Junction, so I'm so happy to see all of you Western Slope folks here for the first time. I know it's difficult to make it over the mountains this time of year and spend extra time away from our families. So I'm glad that every one of you is here. Looks like we have a pretty good crowd today. So I went ahead and recorded the presentation to outwit, technology fairies and to keep my co-host, the dog, from interrupting anything that's going on today. So we're going to have a time for discussion after the presentation is over. But if you're like me and can't remember your questions or your comments until the end, go ahead and pop them in the chat and we'll try to answer as we go, as well as circle back to them at the end of the presentation. Let's see, I think other than, the logistics of everybody keeping themselves muted, which I think we all are, I think we're ready to roll. Evie, if you want to push the play button. Good morning, everybody. My name is Christina Burnham, and I'm the Membership Director for Colorado PTA. Today, we're going to be talking about your membership campaign in the fall. And given that we don't really know what school's going to look like for sure, we're going to make an assumption that there's going to be some in-person and some virtual events happening. Because to be honest, the world has changed, so we really need to talk about both. So I'm sure that a few of you, at least, can relate to some of the challenges that Smith PTA has dealt with this past year. For instance, Keisha has been a longtime member and volunteer, but she assumed that she didn't need to join PTA because her child was remote learning this year. Jackson really doesn't have time to volunteer, so he doesn't think that there's a reason for him to join. And Bill really wanted to join the PTA, but he didn't know how to since he wasn't able to access the building or a form or drop off cash or anything. So how would your PTA handle these situations? If you're not sure, you're in luck because we're going to come up with some strategies around that. So this workshop is designed to help you think about membership campaigns for a virtual or a hybrid world. Throughout the presentation, you're going to see some examples of a few of the tools that are available to you as a PTA or a PTSA. Many of the tips and tools shared can also be used in a face-to-face setting. And these tools can be used by a PTA or a PTSA. And just because I don't say PTA or PTSA doesn't mean that I am forgetting one or the other. It's kind of hard to say them both every time, so I'm probably going to default to PTA throughout the workshop. So just didn't want anybody to think I was forgetting them. So if this past year has taught us anything, it's really that you don't need a school building to PTA. In fact, you never really did. You can PTA anywhere, anytime. Because PTA is really about bringing people together to help children reach their full potential, engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate on behalf of all children. You don't need a school building to do that, but what you do need is members. Your PTA is as relevant today as it ever has been, and maybe even more so now as families and communities are looking for ways to connect and get support for their children's education. Let's pause for just a moment and talk about why PTA needs members. Did you know that PTA is the largest and oldest child advocacy association in America? It's been around for over 120 years now. Many of the benefits that our children receive today, such as universal kindergarten, school lunch programs, and even the fact that there's a juvenile justice system, that was all accomplished as a result of the PTA mission, the PTA voice, and the PTA members. PTA provides parents with the forum and tools to collectively influence the decisions that affect our children, not only in their schools, but also throughout their districts, within their states, and across the nation. It's our membership that allows us to have a voice at the table. We cannot fulfill our mission without members, and the size of the membership really equals the size of our voice. So let's get back to our membership campaigns. Let's talk about the puzzle pieces for growth. Really, there are four main pieces that we're going to talk about today. First, make a plan. Second, make it easy to join. Third, make the case that PTA is worth it, or show the value. And fourth, make an effective ask using all available channels. Let's start with making a plan. If you're going to succeed with growth, it's essential to plan. So first, let's set some goals. They can be around the number of members as a whole, or broken into categories like the number of staff members, the number of families, the number of students, businesses, community members. Really, you could go on and on. And you could also, instead of looking at a number, look at a percentage of what you did last year, maybe. That sometimes helps your goals seem more attainable. Next, you're going to want to plan your strategy. As you think about the events that your PTA is hosting, plan how you're going to thank your members and ask others to join. Create scripts that can be read at events so that you make sure to include that ask. Make sure that you have the tools that you need to sign up members when you need them. It's important to monitor your results and make adjustments as needed. You need to keep a finger on the pulse of your plan. As you see that things are working or not, be prepared to make some adjustments either to the goal or to the strategies. And don't wait till the end. You need to be monitoring this on a monthly basis at least. And share your success. You should share your campaign with your membership and celebrate milestones along the way. Post updates on social media and add it to the newsletters. And don't forget that you also need to report your membership and submit dues to Colorado PTA at least twice a year. The deadlines right now are October 1st and February 1st, but I would recommend really making this a quarterly task. Some have even made it a monthly task just so that they get in the habit of doing it. And something to note, the Colorado PTA Membership Committee is going to be setting some statewide goals as soon as their new term begins. And it's also going to be coming up with the awards that are going to be available for next year. So stay tuned for that information. And also make sure that your unit is in good standing so that you can be eligible to win. You need more information about what it means to be in good standing. We can talk about that in the discussion time after this workshop's done. So next, let's talk about making it easy to join. What's the best way to do this? Well, think about what transactions are easy for you. Most likely, something crossed your mind like an online cashless transaction. And according to the Federal Reserve, cashless purchasing is growing in the US. Credit and debit cards are now the preferred method of purchasing. While a percentage of the population still uses cash, especially on small purchases, cashless purchases are growing in popularity. And in these uncertain times, cashless may actually be the easiest way for most people to join your PTA. Make joining your PTA as easy as it is to purchase the latest gadget on Amazon. This may be scary for some PTAs who are nervous about the transition from paper to online membership, but really embracing technology is essential for operating your PTA this year and beyond. Hey, and did you know, speaking of making it easy, Colorado PTA has an online membership platform that their local units, that means you, can use for free? We have partnered with MemberHub. They have a very powerful platform that is really just amazing. It has tons of tools to help you grow your PTA, and it makes it very easy to set up your memberships in your online store. And then you can just share the heck out of that link and watch your membership grow. And the more that I learn and dig into MemberHub, it really has solidified the fact that this is a great add-on and a great reason to be a PTA. Side note here, it is going to be a requirement in the near future for your unit to submit compliance items through MemberHub in the future, like your officer lists and your membership lists and things like that. So I really highly encourage you to check out the workshops for MemberHub this weekend. Gina with MemberHub will be there to show you how to get things set up, as well as highlight some of the great features that are included in your membership portal. And yes, your PTA will need to pay for some credit card processing services, but that really shouldn't stop you from setting up the option for your members. Your PTA is allowed to spend PTA dollars on valid business expenses. And it's okay if you don't think everybody's going to use an online membership process. Plan accordingly and have your forms ready. But it's important to make it as easy as possible for folks who will welcome the ability to join without using cash. So next, we're going to talk about the value of PTA. Did you know that National PTA recently surveyed potential members and found out that the annual membership fee is not an obstacle to joining for most respondents? The real obstacle, respondents said, is that they don't understand the value of PTA. Think about that. How does that make you feel? You and your PTA do a lot of hard work. You may be disappointed or maybe even angry to learn that respondents don't understand the value of what you and your PTA do. But stop for just a moment and let's think about what your PTA communicates to its members and the community. In an average year, does your PTA send more messages about fundraisers than it does about how your PTA is enhancing educational opportunities and improving the lives of students and families? Is it easy for a member of your community to think that your school system is the source of the programs and resources that are really provided by your PTA? Is it possible that all the work you do goes unnoticed or is attributed to some other source? It really is, especially if your PTA is not actively communicating the value that is provided to your school, your families, and your community. Remember that PTA is not a fundraising organization or an advocacy organization. And this is really no time to be humble. Survey respondents told National PTA that they would join if they knew the value that you provide. So if you do nothing else to grow your membership this year, please start sharing the wonderful things that your PTA is doing. It will make a difference. Blow your PTA horn and shout your value from the rooftops. There are many ways to promote yourself in a virtual world. Think website, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you're holding an event, brand it. In fact, brand everything you do. Use your PTA logo. Tell people that this gathering, this family for virtual bake night, this morning coffee with the principal, this virtual college readiness event, all of these are provided by your PTA and thanks to your PTA's members and volunteers. Tell them why you're hosting an event, how your PTA's work impacts students, families, and schools. Ask people to join your PTA to support these efforts at every event. And make sure to tell people that your PTA welcomes all families and community members. And don't stop using those low-tech ways to get the word out. Put a sign on your school building or on its front lawn. Post a notice about your event in supermarket community bulletin boards or at the bulletin board at the gym or at your church. Make sure that your PTA has a section in every school newsletter that goes out. Think outside your school building and get your PTA's name and work out there. You can also use some of the great tools available in the PTA membership campaign toolkit. And you're seeing a few of them during this presentation, but be creative. The number one reason that respondents gave for not joining PTA is that they weren't asked. This response is not new to National PTA. Surveys over decades have provided this very same response. And you can't assume that people know what PTA is and does and will just automatically join. People need to be asked, and they need usually to be asked more than once. And the best time to ask them is when your PTA is actually providing that value, when they're engaged, and when their child is benefiting. Ask at every event. And remember, membership is really a year-round activity. Survey respondents let National PTA know that they value their PTA membership most when it supports critical academic needs, when it gives them a voice on important issues, when it builds a strong, inclusive, and welcoming community. If your PTA focuses its messages and its events on these three key reasons why people join, you're going to have success. You do not need to be a magician. Just message your PTA's values around these key areas. Let's explore how to do that. So, if you're holding a virtual STEM night, you can say something like, this PTA supports your child's education. This is how we PTA. Join PTA and show that you support the work we do. If you're hosting a virtual town hall on school safety, promote it with PTA is focused on providing our members with opportunities to influence school decisions. This is how we PTA. Join PTA and raise your voice with others who PTA in the same way. Start off your 6th grade parent-teacher networking session with PTA is working to strengthen the connections between all families and educators. This is how we PTA. Join us and show that you support these efforts. How can you apply this type of messaging to your PTA events? Be strategic and deliberate in what you communicate so you make an effective ask. Tell PTA success stories and ask everyone to join if they're not yet members. Create a communications plan. This plan should include high and low tech strategies. Use every event an opportunity to talk PTA value and ask people to become part of your association. Work with your board to develop talking points and short elevator speeches so you're ready for any situation. Incentivize members to ask others to join the PTA. Acknowledge and recognize members as they join and thank them for their support. Throughout your efforts, tell people that they and their children will benefit from your efforts to enhance education, advocate, and create community. So make it easy on yourself. Use the tools that have been created for this purpose. Let's talk about a few of them. There's value in being part of the PTA family. National PTA has created a fabulous new membership campaign toolkit that can be found at the link on the slide. It contains more than 50 graphics, PowerPoint templates, sample elevator speeches, talking points, and a lot more. Many of the graphics are customizable, and you've seen some of them in this workshop. In addition to the toolkit, the webpage on the screen also contains training on the campaign and the tools. So that helps you succeed too. Also, you can explore all the materials in the membership section of the local leader kit. In this, you will find templates, messaging ideas, sample surveys, and strategies. There's even a do-it-yourself guide to your membership plan with even more information, downloadable templates, and samples. Another great tool that's available is the One Voice blog, especially that membership section. It is full of ideas about how to PTA in a virtual world. Many of these ideas were shared by other local PTA unit leaders. For even more ideas, you can join the PTA Local Leader Facebook group. Here you will find lively discussions and a robust sharing platform for you and your peers. Find out what others just like you are doing to grow membership and run their PTAs. You know, we're all in this together. The last tool that I'm going to share today is the Zooming into Membership events. This past year, Colorado PTA partnered with National PTA to host 3 different events. This was a time to hear what National PTA has going on, hear from Colorado PTA, and probably most importantly, other local units. They shared what they're doing to retain and increase membership. This was a powerful time of networking and idea sharing. We're going to be hosting more of these in the coming year, so stay tuned for that. And I encourage you to plug into these events as they pop up. So, you know, we have just come through probably the most unusual time of our lives. We have all made huge adjustments to everything we do. And, you know, we know the definition of normal probably is not ever going to be the same as it was a year ago. But one of the biggest things that I have learned is just how resilient we all are. You know, PTA is resilient too. PTA leaders have faced enormous challenges together for more than 120 years. And we're going to be doing that again. So I just really want to say thank you so much for taking the time to participate today. And thank you for all that you do for PTA and for your children. This workshop actually has been adapted from a National PTA mini webinar series. And if you guys get a chance to check it out, I would encourage you to do that. PTA has a YouTube channel and they've got a lot of these resources out there in English and Spanish at this point. So yeah, I would encourage you to check them out. This concludes the recording of this workshop. And now we're going to transition into the discussion part. Thanks again. Thank you. I didn't notice any questions about membership or membership campaigns in the chat at this point, but let's open it up and let's hear what you all think. If you have ideas, questions, I'd love to hear it. Joanne, I see your hand up. Let's see if we can get you unmuted. There you go.
Are there materials in the toolkit that deal with inviting underrepresented groups into membership in PTA?
That is a fantastic question, Joanne. I have not looked at the updated version of that toolkit, but I will do that and let you know, because
okay,
like
good.
I said, I haven't looked at the updated version, and I haven't looked at it through that lens either.
Particularly so. Requests for Spanish-speaking people. I've had.
Right, and I know that most of what they're putting out is translated into Spanish at this point. But as far as inviting those folks into an environment that's mostly English speaking, I'm not sure it touches on that.
Well, I've had requests to start new chapters, but they want to be Spanish speaking. And when I've gotten the new chapter materials, which are available from the office, our PTA office, there are only, I think, maybe 2 of the 8 or 10 documents that are translated into Spanish. So that's been a real hang up.
Thank you for bringing that up, Joanne. I will
Mhm.
work on that and see if we can't
Great.
get that taken
Thank
care
you.
of. Yeah, absolutely. And if I look like I'm ignoring you, I'm not. I'm just feverishly taking notes. So
I wanted to ask if there was anything anybody attending has done in their local chapter that they've had success with. Our participation has been abysmal. We have maybe 8 parents out of what was a 350 family school. So we just haven't had much luck at all.
Kind of piggybacking on Jason's comment, I think it's been hard for us this year as well because our big membership drive is usually in-person events like back to school night and when all those parents are coming through. And we've found it hard because we don't get, for instance, like the emails of all the parents. And so we kind of have to go through the principal. And so we're just having a hard time even getting in front of parents to market PTA membership to them. And so we're hoping next year, maybe we can do some back to school night in person again, but without that, we're just having a hard time. It's social media a little bit, but I don't think we even have our school all on one social media site. So has anyone had any success finding a different venue to even communicate with parents about membership opportunities?
Well, do you have the email addresses of your members?
We do have the email addresses of our members. And most of those are from last year. And I think a lot of, we always have graduating families. So we at least have prior members.
I'm going to put a couple of units on the spot here. Rainey, I know that your unit, you guys started Facebook Living some of your meetings and things like that. Has that helped you expand your membership at all? What have you guys done this year?
Yeah, Christina, we have started, well, we tried a couple different avenues, Facebook Live, and then ultimately Google Meet, because what we were finding with Facebook Live is people could join and then unjoin, and there was really no way to vote or to get opinions. So when we went to Google Meet, it seemed like we could hold people more accountable and get opinions, which is kind of a blessing and a curse in a way, because what I was finding with Facebook Live is people were on Facebook anyway, so they would click on the link and join. And so now I just post the Google Meet to Facebook and they have to have that extra step, that one extra thing. But no, it hasn't increased our membership at all. We have a few people that are just chronic members that pay their dues, but they really just don't participate. But what we've tried in the past is last year we did like a raffle where if you attended a certain number of PTA meetings, that got you a punch. If you helped out in any way with any of the activities, they got you 2 punches. And at the end of the year, we did raffles to see how many people, how many punches you got. That was the number of submissions into our raffle, and that it seemed to help. But then COVID happened, so now I feel like we're starting all over again. So I don't know. Like everybody said, it's a weird year right now. I hope that happens. What we've really struggled with is getting teacher participation, and we've changed our meeting time around. So it's right after school on a Wednesday. We've tried potlucks, and that didn't even seem to help. We surveyed the teachers and did exactly what they wanted, and we still cannot get teacher participation. So what we're looking into and hoping to do next year, I saw on Facebook on the PTA president Facebook page where they're going to be reimbursed $125 in their classroom, but they have to commit to a certain percentage or a certain number of either meetings or activities. So that'll be our next trial, and we'll see.
Rainey, thank you for that. The local PTA unit that I was president for, we had a stipend, I guess you could call it, for the teachers, where if they were a PTA member, we would give them $75 every year for their classroom supplies. And so they at least were members. We didn't always have them participating, except if we had an event or something, they would help volunteer with things like that. But it at least got a little bit of buy-in. Jason, to go back to what you were asking about as well, if you have a principal who really understands the value of the PTA, a lot of times they're happy to send out the links and stuff to how to join, and really kind of push it in their newsletters and things like that. Does anybody else have any ideas to share? There's some great ones here in the chat as well.
Yeah, I'm Amelia from Wheat Ridge Color Strand Elementary. And just like many of you last year or in previous years, we've really focused on getting membership through our in-person events, which we obviously couldn't do. And so this year we did a membership drive where we really got the kids involved. So every morning we did it for a week, I believe, and every morning the principal would announce where the standings were, and kids got points for their classroom for the memberships that they got. So we did it all through Member Hub, and parents or family members or neighbors or whoever would sign up, teachers would sign up, and there were different point values for each thing. So if their teacher signed up, they got more points. If they had 5 family members who signed up, they got more points. And then we ended up having awards for the class that got the most PTA members. And we I think increased our membership almost by 50% this year. We did have a lot of support from our teachers, but that was a good way that we did it. And then for our PTA actually meetings, we do them through Zoom. We always have a raffle at the end of our meetings, and it's something as small as like a $25 gift card, which we usually buy from King Soopers, and it gets us extra points or extra money for our PTA because we do the Kroger Gives Back. And then we try to make our meetings informative, where we have a guest speaker. This next one, we're going to do something with gardening, but we've done things that range from online communication or online predators for your kids, and just different things that we think are relevant to right now, but that will also be informative.
Can I ask a quick question? I love the idea of the membership drive. I think one of the things that sort of resonated with me, and I feel like we struggle with, is just communicating like the incentive or the value of PTA. When you guys did that membership drive, was it like, what was the incentive? Was it just like, okay, if the class that has the most participation is getting a prize, or what do you think kind of piqued the interest for those families to join?
Well, the kids pestering their parents honestly made a huge difference, because we sent things home through Friday folder, the Friday messages that went out to the whole school, any way that we could. We sent big yard signs home at the start of the year that just had our school's name on them, anything that we could to try to get attention, but none of that really made that big of a difference. It was the same people that usually signed up still signed up, which was a fairly small number for our school. And so what made the big difference was we got community involvement, where we had donations from McDonald's. And then we also had donations from a local Jamba Juice. And so any student who participated got a free a dessert from McDonald's, which McDonald's donated all of those to us. And then the winning class, each student got a $20 gift card to Jamba Juice. And then our PTA decided that we would purchase a Scholastic book that we made a price point of like $5.99. So I was just in contact with our Scholastic representative, and we ended up spending, I think, like $89. The winning class, each student got to choose their own book. And so the winning class got a Jamba Juice, everybody got a Jamba Juice gift card and a book. And then anybody who participated got free McDonald's dessert. And those things were big motivators for the kids. And then each morning it was announced which group was in the lead. And so they were all really working to try to get more members. And so it was really a competition between the students and the classes. And I think that's what really made it successful.
That's fun. Thank you.
Is anybody else here part of high school? So having been part of elementary, middle, high school, as we all know, the participation tends to drop off with each year. Anybody else at a high school, we're trying to pretty much revive ours. We had the absolute minimum number this year just to be able to vote. And so my goal is clearly membership this coming year. But I just, high school parents are a different animal than an elementary school PTA parent.
I had a really good idea for a high school PTA. If you're interested, is bringing in the kids from like the student government and using the advocacy part of the PTA as a incentive for kids who are looking to do more of like the legislative side of it, and using the PTA and their advocacy platform to become members and kind of drive their own PTA.
And Christine, are you guys a PTA or a PTSA?
PTSA, so that does actually fit. So thank you for that suggestion.
And Christine, thank you. You've started attending the legislative committee, the state PTA legislative committee, and you're welcome to invite some of your student members to participate in those meetings to kind of get them up to speed on legislative advocacy. Or later in the day, we're doing an advocacy workshop, and tomorrow I'm doing a legislative report. And so you can get copies of those things and use them in your PTA.
Another thing is do you guys use Member Hub or have any sort of online place where people can sign up and join your PTAs? Because that helps too, to make it easy for them, and they don't have to go to the school to get a form or write a check or anything like that. If you guys have not attended a Member Hub workshop or know anything about Member Hub, it is a free resource that Colorado PTA is providing for all of the state units to use. And it's a very, very robust tool, and it can help with that as well.
I actually checked out the Member Hub this week, just preparing for the conference, and I'm looking forward to using it. I'm going to try my hardest to use all of the resources available and see if it'll help us with our membership this year. We have quite a few. We don't have a large PTA membership, but we do have a lot of teachers and parents involved. We just did a fundraiser a couple of weeks ago with Boosterthon, and we did great. Everyone participated. Everyone had a great time. It was our one big fundraiser this year. We really haven't done anything since we've been not in person, and doing the Zoom meetings and everything online. We do have a Facebook page, and then also just with doing the Zoom meetings, we have a board in the hallway when you first come into the school. And I'm sorry, I'm with Stratton Elementary, should have said that, here in Colorado Springs. And so I'm looking forward to the Member Hub. I will be attending the class during the convention, and hopefully it will help us with our membership.
Patty, can I ask how you did a fundraiser and everyone had fun? Like, what did you do? Because we didn't even allowed to like see each other.
Well, Boosterthon, they did everything. They were wonderful. It was actually very easy with all the steps, but the kids just having that one fundraiser this year, I think it was a relief for everyone. They did the social distancing. We did a lot of pushing online. We didn't do any of the flyers. We were really trying to stick with COVID and all of the restrictions right now, and trying to keep it as simple as possible for the parents being able to communicate with us. But a lot of it was online. A lot of it was our principal making announcements and Boosterthon. They did great.
I wanted to go back to an earlier comment in the chat from Darcy Wood that she said they did a raffle at their elementary when we were talking about trying to increase membership. Can you elaborate on that, Darcy?
Sure. So we used money from our PTA membership and bought 3 King Soopers gift cards that were in varying amounts. And then people had to be PTA members and come to an online PTA meeting. So we've used Zoom throughout the past school year. And then what they did was throughout the meeting, they just took the participants' names from the participant list in Zoom and then gave everybody a number, put all those numbers in a hat and just drew out the 3 numbers that were in there. And that meeting was probably one of their most highest attended meetings of maybe the past like 2 years. Probably 40 to 50 people at that meeting. Normally our in-person meetings ranged anywhere from like the high teens to the low 20s. So it was really pretty good participation. Jeffco Public Schools has had a lot of restrictions on what PTAs can do this year as far as like being involved in the school and everything. So most PTAs have, done very little as far as in-person events. So they were able to utilize money this way and just get some information out there for advocacy and outreach that was also kind of stemmed around a new school that was built this year for our elementary school. But it worked really well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Question just on how much everyone charges for membership. It was my understanding that every unit can set their own price. We do, I think it's $15 for an individual and then $20 for a family. I'm just curious what some of the other units do.
We're $10 for our membership.
We started doing something where like you could sign up for like all 4 years and you get a little discount, and that seems to have increased our membership a little bit. Instead of making people, renew every year. I don't know that it's going to, we just started it, so I don't know if it's going to increase participation necessarily, but it is increasing our membership.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Excuse me. One of the things we did prior to COVID, and so that may be coming again, that we can do in-person things, was Denver Council signed up for and got a grant with a STEM grant with STEM Plus Families. And we had probably that evening for the event, we had something like 300 plus participants. And we had food, and we had the experiments that kids had to complete, and they could win prizes with the by attending those different 10 experiments. So it's a good way to get parents in to the school. We thought we were being wisest by putting the membership with the food, and it didn't work out quite as well. People were more interested in the food than membership, so we didn't get quite as many members as we would have liked. But I think if you kind of emphasize that, or maybe route people through, so that they have to, kind of go through that before they go to the food or whatever, that might work a little bit better. But we learned a little bit from that, was that it isn't just the food that's a draw. I mean, it gets people in there, but you really need to, set it up so that they are exposed to the benefits of membership while you're at it. So that was a middle school, so excuse me, but the grants really do help to get people in to the school.
But even if they didn't join and they just came for the food, they knew that the PTA was providing it, right? So you get visibility, and later on down the line, they may decide to join.
Thank you, Evie. We hope that.
I want to second babysitting when with elementary school parents in particular. We would have, it was pre-COVID obviously, but we would have the gym open, because in elementary school it's just a smaller area. So you're literally just down the hallway from the gym, where the kids just ran around and played. And we didn't even pay for babysitting, because any of us that had older kids that could help, that had teenage kids that could help watch them just play. It really increased our in-person membership meeting experience. Even if they didn't join, we still had a lot of attendees.
Please be careful with that. Do not call it childcare or babysitting. You need to call it activities for children, because there is liability in regard to trying to do the childcare thing, because you're not meeting a lot of the state criteria for childcare. So you could say we have special activities and supervision for children in this other place. Okay, I know people call it babysitting, but you're opening yourself up for problems if you use that terminology.
As president of the Denver Council, I've been able to go to, when we were doing in-person meetings, I was able to go to quite a number of the schools for meetings, their board meetings. And it's really interesting, because those who provide the activities for children on a regular basis, along with pizza and some sort of a dessert for kids, they really have wonderful attendance and participation. So I think that you're really onto something when you do that, the activities for kids. The kids look forward to the PTA meetings, as a matter of fact.
I have two quick things to say about membership. First, I agree with some other people have already said this, but having your principal on board, I think, is huge. At the beginning of the school year, when the teachers first report to school before students arrive, our principal and our assistant principal have lots of meetings with the teachers and whatnot, but they make an effort to let them know everything that our PTA does for our school every year and how it all comes back to benefit them. And they encourage them to join the PTA. We also provide them welcome back bags, and we gather little fun things for them to keep at their desk, like things that they'll need throughout the year, like Tylenol, hand sanitizer, gum, stuff like that. And we go and we hand deliver them. The first week the teachers are back, we introduce ourselves and we put our membership form in that bag. And on an average year, we probably have 50% teacher participation. That's my first thing. My second thing is in a pre-COVID year, when we hold our in-person events, we always have somebody there for membership. And I think a personal invitation goes a long way. And so we have our people, we wear our PTA shirts so they can, recognize who we are. And we walk around and we mingle with people, and we introduce ourselves and we ask them, have you heard about our PTA and what we do for our school? And we talk to them. The other thing is that our school population is heavy with non-English speakers. So I and another lady in the PTA, we try to go around and talk to the bilingual parents and try to encourage them to join the PTA to help us so that they can translate, because I don't speak Spanish. I know a little bit, but not enough to really relay what we're doing. And so we try to get as many bilingual parents as we can on board with us, so that when we do have our in-person events and we're going around and we're introducing ourselves, then we can have them going around and talking to our non-English speaking families. And our bilingual population, or our Hispanic speakers population, has really increased as well. And let me tell you, they really, really want to help. They just don't know how. And so I think that's a big population to try and target with membership. And that's our PTA's goal. It has been for a couple of years, and it's still our goal, because we want everybody to feel welcome and included. And just because they don't speak English, they shouldn't be excluded. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, everybody, for your participation. We are just about out of time. We've got about 2 minutes till we get kicked out of here. So if you haven't had a chance to do the evaluation form during the workshop, there's also a link to it in the agenda. We always appreciate your feedback. It helps us make things better. And I can send out, there's also, I don't know if you guys know this, there's a principal's guide to PTA. I believe it's available on National PTA's website. But that might help you if you're having some issues with, getting your principal on board. It might help kind of bridge that gap a little bit and help them learn some more about PTA. So I'll send that out as well to everybody. And check out National PTA's website, you guys. They've got a lot of resources out there, a lot of free events that you can tap into, things that, they provide all the tools. All you guys have to do is host like a STEM event for your families and things like that. So check that out. I have to say I'm sorry to see this end, because you guys are sharing such great ideas, but unfortunately I think we are out of time. So Brandy, did you have something else to add in? Okay, I thought I saw you raise your hand. So all right, well, I will give you guys a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and end our presentation, give you guys a few minutes to get checked into your next presentation or workshop. Maybe get a chance to get a second cup of coffee, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the Member Hub workshop later on today. Have a great day.